The email patent, U.S. Patent number 4,873,662, issued to Shiva Ayyadurai in 1990. Welcome to Patentomatics. In today's video, we will talk about the email patent, U.S. Patent number 4,873,662, issued to Shiva Ayyadurai in 1990. So before this video starts, please share, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more updates. I was just browsing through Facebook when I came across the name Shiva Ayyadurai for the first time. On the occasion of the email's 30th anniversary, my newsfeed displayed a piece of writing that was published by the Huffington Post. In it, the author acknowledged Shiva Ayyadurai as the person who invented email, and paid tribute to him for his accomplishments. A quick Google search led to the discovery of another interesting article, this time from the Huffington Post. The article described how two large American corporations, Raytheon and BBN, conducted an ongoing public relations campaign to discredit and malign the young black man from Newark, New Jersey, who was the real inventor of email. In post-colonial India, where we are quick to claim and glorify the slightest recognition from the West, I was bewildered as to how I had not come across his name before, especially given the magnitude of this accomplishment. I found it particularly puzzling that I had not come across his name before. It is said that Ayyadurai came up with the idea for email when he was only 14 years old. After graduating from MIT with 4 degrees, he went on to start EchoMail, redesign the United States Postal Service, and accomplish a great deal more. The rest of his life was filled with a glittering array of business successes that cannot be disputed. I had both of the stories bookmarked in pocket, but I didn't think about them for several days. When I went back to try to read them later, I couldn't find them anywhere. After conducting a thorough search across the internet, I discovered that all of the articles that hailed Ayyadurai as the inventor of email had been removed when a rush of readers protested that this assertion was unequivocally untrue. This distinction, however, was awarded to the U.S. inventor Ray Tomlinson. Any search for Shiva Ayyadurai yielded 3 types of results: his recent marriage to Hollywood actress Fran Drescher, torrents of racial and other abuse deeming him to be a liar and a fraud, and a slew of registered domains owned by Shiva Ayyadurai himself. All of these results were related to Ayyadurai. Perhaps the trolls or his websites made it difficult to determine whether or not his statements had any basis in reality. I went out to him for an interview because I was perplexed, and he graciously accepted my request. But, after such a lengthy discussion, my uncertainty has not been cleared up very much. This interview is an attempt to open up legitimate avenues of conversation where we can discuss, criticize, and opine coherently and with dignity. This is something the American media has largely failed to do, and our Indian brethren have not expressed much interest in either. Rather than endorsing or criticizing his claims, which this author has no authority to do, this interview is an attempt to open up legitimate avenues of conversation where we can discuss, critique, and opine coherently and with dignity. He says, "The primary accusation that has been leveled against me is that I am a self-promoting businessman. I am an internet entrepreneur. What does any of that have to do with the facts about who invented email? Your feedback is appreciated and can be left in the comments section below. Please take note that the only contentious issue we cover here is the email debate. The following week there will be a discussion that delves deeper into his life, schooling, and several other accomplishments. In India, my family has a long history of working the land. Farming was in my grandmother's blood. My mother was determined to better herself via education, even though she was born into a family that was considered to be of a lesser caste. My grandfather was a child during World War II and did not start learning how to read or write until he was 11 years old. I was 7 years old when we relocated to the United States, and I was determined to make the most of my new environment. Every time I traveled to India, I was reminded of how fortunate I was to have been given the possibilities I had, particularly because I came from such a humble background. I was aware that I was not performing well for myself, but rather for the many people who had made sacrifices for me to be here. After that, I became inspired to make a difference in the world. How did the concept to create an email first occur in someone's mind? Try to picture the world as it was in 1978. There will be no computers, mobile phones, or laptops allowed. the average individual was unable to use the computer because it was out of their reach. Those with a high level of technical expertise, such as system analysts and programmers, were the only ones who were allowed to use it, and even then, it was just for data processing. When I think about email, I don't think of a technical person sending a message to another technical person. That was the entirety of the system, and it was created with the typical final consumer in mind. A medical professional, a dental professional, or a secretary. As a result, people would transition from using a typewriter to working at a computer terminal. The revolutionary aspect of the email was brought about by this. People were required to construct their computers before Steve Jobs invented the personal computer. They had to acquire each component separately and put it together themselves. Because of this, the Macintosh was a groundbreaking design. It was within the reach of tens of millions of people. I was the one who came up with the idea of email, which made it possible for millions of people to use computers. Where did you get the inspiration for this idea from? The goal was to simplify communication for the average person using the system, or end user. It was not simply a matter of facilitating access to text messaging. That was the activity that they were engaged in. We had close to 100 distinct options available. You have to understand that a secretary will not switch to using email unless the software possesses all of the functions that she is accustomed to. She was accustomed to seeing a trash folder, an inbox, an outbox, as well as an address book. She always made sure to keep the receipt for the return. All of these aspects needed to be connected. The components of email are all tied to one another. It was very much like building a motor. One of the most common complaints that are made about you is that you don't acknowledge the fact that your invention was built on the works of those who came before you in the 60s, particularly people like Ray Tomlinson and organizations like ARPANET. This is one of the most common criticisms that are made about you. How much of the development of email was based on previous works, and how much of it was entirely new? You absolutely must have an awareness of the political dynamics at play here. This area houses the armed forces, private industries, and academic institutions. During the 1960s and 1970s, they were attempting to send a message from point A to point B, so that it could be received by soldiers who were on the front lines of the conflict. In 1978, when I was 14 years old, I did not have access to that technology, and I did not make use of any of its components. Also, this is the point that needs to be made clear. To retrieve the email, we did not require any of their belongings of any kind. We didn't even need the internet. You can educate yourself on the subject by reading up on the facts, but the early email systems, including the one I designed up to 1993, did not use the internet. They were designed with a focus on the use of local area networks. In one of the offices, we practically set up the computers and ran the Ethernet network wires. We did not make any use of their networks or protocols at any point. They want everyone to believe that you are helpless without the military. The military industrial complex is responsible for the development of cutting-edge technology. We, the general public, have been led to believe that the Defense Department is funded by our tax dollars. As a result, there is a lot of animosity and pushback against the current administration. The Department of Defense conducts research, and as a result, we occasionally acquire GPS. We get Velcro. We get an email. This helps to rationalize all of the money that is being spent on the military. The first urban legend was that the ARPANET was responsible for the invention of email. Totally and completely bogus. They spoke with one another through computerized text messages. The ARPANET was attempting to improve telegraph-based combat communication at the time. It was an extremely basic operating system. The words "no attempt is being made to imitate a full-scale, inter-organizational mail system" were written by David Crocker himself in an article that was published in December of 1977. In 1978, Ayyadurai developed a computer program that he termed email. This program reproduced all of the functions of the inter-office mail system, including the inbox, outbox, folders, notes, attachments, and address book, among other things. These functions are now standard fare in any email client available on the market. On August 30, 1982, the United States government formally acknowledged Ayyadurai as the inventor of email by presenting him with the first U.S. copyright for email for his 1978 innovation. This award was given in recognition of the fact that Ayyadurai invented email in 1978. At that time, copyright was the sole means through which software innovations could be safeguarded. The email was not invented in large institutions such as ARPANET, MIT, or the military, where significant research budgets were available at the time. According to the Huffington Post, these kinds of organizations believed that developing such a system was impossible since they believed that it was just too complex. How did you like the video? Do you like it? Leave your valuable comments in the comment section below, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel Patenomatics on YouTube.